Just before we finish off the chapter in New South Wales, just a couple of things that happened while we were there. Now, my husband didn't have very many good friends. He had a lot of acquaintances, but not very many good friends. But he met this guy that he chose as his best mate. And he asked me, these people were moving there and they had 5 children. He asked me if they could come and have dinner with us one night while they're in their move, and if I wouldn't mind them staying the night. I said, no, look, that's fine. The kids will just have to sleep in the lounge room. They can have the spare bedroom. So anyway, these people came over and it was a bit of a shock to my system who these people really were. Somewhere through early in the night, these people needed alcohol and smokes. And now I was the only one who didn't drink. So I drove the wife down to get smokes or alcohol, whatever it was. I think it was a bit of both. And as we were going there, she proceeded to tell me how she'd gone to jail for a while quite a few years ago. Before she met this man, she stabbed her ex-husband or partner or something. It just shocked me. I was lost for words. But things happen in your past that we're not proud of, and I just left it at that. But this was going through the back of my head while the rest of the night was going on. Who have we brought into our home? When I met them, I wasn't really overly fussed on them for some reason, but I never judge a book by its cover. I always give people a chance. So anyway, I cooked dinner, we'd had dinner, and the kids were all in the lounge room watching TV. We were sitting around the dining room table, us adults, and we were talking, and next thing this guy says to me, your husband has adult movies in the car that this guy had given him, and he wanted to bring them in and for the 4 of us to watch them. And I said, well, that's not going to happen. I said, we've got a room full of 6 children in here, my daughter included, in here. I said, that's not going to happen. And that's not going to happen at any time, whether there's kids in here or not. I don't do those things in my house. It's not going to happen. So I looked over at my husband in real disapproval about this. Is this what he wanted to happen in our life? Was to bring other couples in and do these things in our family home? Not happening. And then the next breath, this so-called friend said to me, he said, do you do things to yourself whilst in a personal, affectionate relationship with my husband and I? And I just looked at him, I said, that is a very personal question and is really none of your business. What happens behind closed doors within a marriage stays there. I said, that is a very inappropriate question. So once again, I looked at my husband and I just couldn't believe that he'd brought this person into our home. So anyway, I'd had enough of this. So I said, it's time for bed. Put the kids into bed. We went to bed. I never said anything to my husband. And then the next morning, I still never said anything. I got out of bed. I cooked them all breakfast. I packed them up, put them in the car, said, see you later. And then I said to my husband, you are not the person I thought you were. For you to choose somebody like this out of all the beautiful people you know to be your best friend, you are not the person I thought you were. And I was quite disappointed in him. Another thing that happened while we were in New South Wales was my husband had got done for DUI. He had been at work all day. He finished work about lunchtime because they'd cut out the shearing shed. He On his way home, he stopped at the pub to have a couple of beers, in which he always did. He could not drive past the pub. But he was in there for a while, and when he got out, he got in the car and went to drive off when the police sergeant was there and pulled him over. The police were really good. One of them drove our ute home. They let him tie the dog up and then took him down to Blaney to be processed. Now, my husband, when I met him, had already lost his licence, but in Queensland. And that didn't show up on his New South Wales licence when he went to court. Now, we got him the best lawyer we could. He went to court. The lawyer argued that he was on blood pressure medication, which was true. He hadn't eaten. He'd been working all day. He had a couple of beers, and it pushed him over the limit. So he got off from it. And I was quite annoyed. I was going to stand up in court and say he needs to be taught a lesson. He did not need to drive that car home. I don't feel anybody should get in the car and drive whilst under the influence. And I know life would have been hard for us if he had lost his licence again. But I felt he needed to be taught a lesson. And my husband said to me, if you had done that in court, he said, we'd have been staying in there for a divorce. I still felt he needed to be taught a lesson.